Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Q&A Cafe for SAP Business by Design. Today is Wednesday, June 3rd. Happy June, everyone. Hopefully it's nice where you are. Today we're doing reports abounding with Laura Herculo. Just to let you know, next week we have, for June 10th, our topic is output management in ByDesign, and that's again with Laura Herculo. So without further ado, Laura, I'll send it over to you.
Basically, what we wanted to cover today was how to create dashboards, how to configure dashboards, looking at the insights work center and how to create those. So last week we did KPIs, and now we can figure out how we want to do or how to actually put them onto the dashboards. So hopefully, maybe this isn't new topic for everybody, but maybe some things will be. Any of your users can go into start personalization mode, and they'll see all the capability that they have to be able to create and configure their own dashboard. As I mentioned, you've got your background design. Just by right-clicking on that, you can enter any sort of color palette or color scheme. So you've got sort of the whole broad range of colors if you want, like I said, to make it more branded towards your logos and things like that. As an end user, they can create any number of different groups just by clicking add group, and then within the group itself, you've got different shortcuts. You can create mashups. So we'll probably do a session on mashups. Like if you've got links out, like I've got SharePoint and then some quoting software and then Concur, so you can actually create a link out to a third-party software. So then it's easy for your users to be able to open those applications up just directly from Business by Design. And then you've got your KPIs, obviously anything that you would pin onto there. Just click the pin button and that'll apply it. And then you've also got sort of your quick links that are available, and then any shortcuts to actually within here. Any of these quick links are all essentially different tasks that are available. I find this one actually really good, because rather than having to always go into the different work lists of the things that you've got to do, you can pop into here. So like, let's say I wanted to look at my open activities or my accounts, and then maybe we want to look at my team's opportunities or my opportunities or things like that. We can bring that back into the dashboard. And so they'll be able to actually see in here very easily different things that you have to navigate out to the work list to, or you have to maybe run a report or create a specific KPI for. This gives you that nice quick link into the tasks that you have to do for the day. And then if you wanted to move those around, so if I wanted to reposition it, I can just grab that guy and then move it, kind of move it up or down within my list. So as an example, it's always nice to have it sort of at the top if I want to see everything that I got to do today. And if you wanted to move anything around, it's just a quick drag and drop to reconfigure those. And then as any of your users, you can just hide or show new groups. So as an example, if I wanted to just hide that service and support area, I can do that. And then any of these different boxes. So overall, just by like on the navigation panel, so that my inbox, if I just right click on that inbox, if I just want to call it like my tasks or my notifications or something like that, very easy for me just to change how that title is displayed. You could also change it just directly in here. The same goes for any of my tiles as well. So I can delete those, or I can change the description of any of these tiles. So if there's something that's maybe really long, or sometimes like the same type of work list, or different work lists may carry the same title, you can modify those as well. And so any of the users then have the ability, once they're done and they're happy with how their dashboard looks, they can save that if they want to just do, if they made mistakes and things like that, they can discard those. They can undo any of their work that they've done. Now, from a key user standpoint, the same thing can be done through the key user settings in adaptation mode, where you can actually set up for all of your users globally a dashboard. So, you know, I always caution that, because then, you know, again, that's going to take, unless you're brand new to the system and your users haven't really gotten into ByDesign yet, because this is a global setting. As you create that and publish it out, you have the ability to overwrite anybody's personalization settings already, and so they might get a little sad with you. But you can actually just create a dashboard. Like if you're in the mix and you find that you want to have a particular dashboard set up for all the users that come in as new employees, you can set that up as well, and then just not overwrite the capabilities. So like when you're in adaptation mode, again, you'll see how that looks a little bit different in the screen. And then once I make those changes again, that would then proliferate out to everybody else, right? I think I was just already in personalization mode. So that's just really kind of overall the Launchpad. And then every other work center, hopefully you've noticed that there is just an overview for every single work center. And then let me just open up I'll open up sales orders, because I think I have some stuff out here. Yep. So the sales orders are going to have different configurations in here. Again, we can go into that personalization mode, or you can go into the key user settings again into adaptation mode, and I can pull in the same types of information, as well as this embedded list. So I have other things that I can put in latest news. So if I wanted to embed like RSS feeds or company-wide notifications or announcements, I can pop those guys into there. And then you've got, again, your quick links that are just specific to that particular work center. So these are all going to be tailored directly to the work center. And then if you know, you want to bring in any other report. So let's say, again, maybe I want I can have one or many different views of the same report, or just overall different views. So let's like pull in the sales volume history maybe as an example. So as I'm in adaptation mode, that will pop in. So some of the different things that you'll notice on when you are in adaptation mode or personalization mode, you have the ability in here, this little cog will open up to be able to change any of your settings that are in here. So you've got your different quick links as an example. So any of these different list values, things can be added or taken away from here. So you've got today's orders, my team's orders, the open sales orders, and then as I pop down into here, you can add any of these other options that aren't necessarily in there. So maybe I want to pull in my open tasks as well, and then you can apply it. What we also have the ability to do is change the look and feel. So how wide that card is. Maybe I want to make it a medium card. You'll see that that's then gonna open up a little bit wider again. And that's a pretty simple configuration as it pertains just to the different cards for the lists. What you also have the ability to do is change the look and feel of any of your different reports as well. So you've got the ability, again, to move things out to narrow, medium, or wide, taking your sales order and seeing what all of your different selections. So if you are a key user and you're trying to position things, again, dashboards are always really nice to position charts on because they look pretty. I say for demos, they always look great, but you can change those, have just the standard list type reports or your charts and graphs. And then I would, in any of your, as a personalization, all of your personal type views can show up, so you can push those on there. But as you're in adaptation mode, only your corporate type selections and views will show up. So if we're looking at last year as an example, And then you've got, maybe we'll just change this to the history so we can see a difference between the volume and the history. And then whatever your refresh rate is, if you want to do an immediate sort of refresh, so every time someone opens the dashboard, everything is going to refresh. Obviously, it takes a couple seconds sometimes for the data to refresh, and you might just have this set up that they just go every 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, depending on, you know, how up to the minute you need your metrics to refresh. So when I pull that in, again, you'll see now that you've got your sales order volume history now in that different list view. And then just by dragging and dropping again, so hovering over the top, I can just resequence this. It's a little weird, like these ones kind of wind up being a little strange in terms of getting that right configuration, I find, because they don't necessarily line up like in boxes, if you will, or columns as you would want them. So sometimes it takes a little bit of tweaking around to get the right views on here. And these are all responsive as well. So as I change that screen around, you'll see as I widen it, more of my metrics come up to the top, or if I scrunch it down, they kind of reconfigure. So it's just one thing to take note of, that everything isn't super static. So if you have one view that you really like, it might change a little bit as you're displaying it on different screens. Any of these other areas too, if you wanted to change the names of any of these different titles, again, just hovering and clicking on the title bar is going to show you that information as well. If you want to add in anything like any of your KPIs, they act a little bit differently. So maybe I'm going to pull in my net invoice value just simply in here. So then you've got options within the KPI itself that I can do different things. So I can do, again, that narrow, medium, or wide display. I can also choose to show it as a collapse. So if I just want to show the metric with not the report in there, we can do that. And then any of your additional values that you might want to put in, you can show up to 2 additional values. So maybe I want to show kind of the target and the reference in here as well. And then obviously your refresh rate. So that'll then pop up sort of all those different numbers in there for a quick reference for your users. And then obviously when you're ready, we can go ahead and just publish that out. And so when you publish it, anything in adaptation mode, so in your key user tools, when you click overwrite, anything that they've done already gets overwritten, but just doing a publish will make that for like any new users that are coming into the system, we'll see your personalization changes that are in there. So that is just the overall, the adaptation mode of creating. One, we went over the dashboards for creating it for all users. We went over for creating the sales or like any overview screen in a particular work center. And then one of the newer features you may or may not have seen before. Kayla, I think there's a couple questions in here, so I'm going to stop right now just to answer those before I go on. Can you pop those open? No, Kayla, are you? Oops. Oh, that was just from before. Okay, screen sharing. So there's a new work center that just got introduced. It's not going to be on it didn't automatically get deployed to all your users by default. So you may or may not have seen this. It came out, I think, in last November's release. It's an insights dashboard. And this really allows you as either an end user or a key user to be able to create dashboards for the masses. So as a key user, you can create dashboards. The one caveat in this is that you need to have roles enabled. So you would enable the role, and then you can deploy the dashboard that you create to that particular role. So I'll just pop in here and you can see we don't really have anything listed in here. I've got a couple that I was working on that haven't been deployed to myself. These are more again in my adaptation mode. So I've got, again, you would go into your key user settings, start adaptation. You'll see obviously your boxes pop up here. And then when I want to create a new dashboard, you just give it a name. Let's call it, I don't know, just call it like CRM type stuff. Name, and then you can give it kind of whatever description you want. If you click OK, it's going to add it directly onto the list, and then whatever you want to change it to, you can click on the pencil or just open the layout, and then you would go through the same type of configuration in here. Just do one or two. We'll just add like the opportunity pipeline and the funnel in here. It's just some CRM type stuff, just to kind of show you exactly what we've got, and then I can overwrite. Obviously, we're going to publish that guy out. And the same kind of concept happens really with your end users as well. So if I was in managing my dashboards as an example, you can see that I've got a couple different dashboards that I created here. The users would be able to pin and unpin those different dashboard selections into their users. So then when they open up the insights, you'll now see those as part of the view that they can pop into. Okay. And then they can create just this, in the same concept, they can create their own, their own same types of views. So if I did want to do a CRM2 and then edit that layout, I can do exactly the same thing that I just did, but that'll just be a personal type view for me. That didn't want to work. So that's the personalization. Now, once you do have, as I mentioned, all of these dashboards that you would do in the key user mode have to be deployed through the role, through application and user management. So I'll pop into there just to show you how that works. So so if I'm in application and user management and I go into the business roles, you'll see all of your guys that are in here. And so maybe I've got my sales user, just do this guy. And then we would edit, get out of personalization mode here. And in the roles, you've got other options. So if currently you're just doing user-based administration, there's things like UI switches that you don't see, or these dashboards. So like a UI switch is being able to disable certain parts of the system so people can't do it. So if you're disabling things like time entry or expense entry, or being able to edit payment data or things like that, there's lots of different options that they've created, mostly pertaining to the self-services area that you can implement to be able to show or remove from your different users. But then you've got, again, your different dashboards. So anything that I created in that adaptation mode, so that CRM that we just created, I can deploy that and then save that. And I don't necessarily need to, there's no updates that need to happen in here at all. All of the users will then have that. Let's see if I have anybody. Nope, I don't have anybody assigned to that, so I can't show you how it works, but they'll see that the next time that they pop in. So if you're doing a dashboard for a particular role, what the user would then have to do is next time that they log in, they physically need to go into the manage dashboards, and they'll see that on their list appear, and then they activate it for their user. So it just doesn't magically appear once you add it to the role. It just, they have to actually do that themselves. Okay. I know that was a super quick presentation, but that is, in a nutshell, kind of the 3 different ways that we can create all kinds of different consumable type reporting views and dashboards for your users. So it gives them, again, just a really, I would say, a much faster way to access the data in the system rather than going through either your home and your shortcuts or your reports list or the reports list directly into in each of the different work centers.
Great, thanks, Laura. And just a reminder, next week we have our session on output management in Business by Design. So we'll see you then. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.